This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. After Lu Ziyuan obtained the ice sword, he listened to Lu Nanxi and absorbed the power of the clouds to break the restriction on it. However, he failed in the end. At this moment, his desire to kill Yunxiao was stronger than anyone else, but the Lu family could not afford to lose two great alchemists. As long as Yunxiao came forward to take the sword, he was confident that he could trap him with one move, and then his life and death would be completely in his control. Lu Shubao also understood Lu Ziyuan's thoughts, and his elemental energy slowly fluctuated, ready to protect the two great alchemists at any time. Naturally, Yunxiao saw through their thoughts, so he said with a faint smile, "Why wouldn't I?" He put away his hammer and grabbed Lu Nanxi's neck with one hand. He walked forward and pulled the ice sword up from the ground, then put it back into his body. "You, thising Luo. You." Lu Zhi's vital qi jumped as he said angrily, "How shameless." "Shameless?" Yunxiao asked in surprise. "Shameless? Are you trying to scare me again?" His fingers dug into his flesh, leaving a trail of blood. Lu Nanxi's face turned pale, and he was covered in cold sweat. "Stop." Ruthlessness flashed through Lu Ziyuan's eyes as he said angrily, "Now that you have the sword, can you let him go? Is there a way to unseal it?" Yunxiao laughed. "Is there a way?" Lu Ziyuan said coldly, "That unsealing method seems to have nothing to do with Lord Yunxiao, right? It's a secret of the Lu family, so I'm sorry I can't tell you." "My cold sword and frost have nothing to do with you," Yunxiao said coldly. "My lord, do you? How did you guys take so long?" Lu Ziyuan's face alternated between green and white. He was already beyond angry. He gritted his teeth and said, "All right, here you go." He casually threw out a jade slip, which turned into a stream of light and flew over. Yunxiao had been sentenced to death in his heart. Even if he wanted all the property of the Lu family, he would give it to him without a word. As long as he saved the two great alchemists, he would kill them and take it back immediately. Yunxiao placed the jade slip on his forehead and touched it. He immediately knew that it was genuine, and he was overjoyed. Clan leader Lu is indeed loyal and straightforward. You're really a role model in the martial arts world. Shut up. Smoke came out of Lu Ziyuan's forehead as he pointed at Yunxiao and said, "You've taken everything, so release her immediately." "Don't be impatient," Yunxiao said with a smile. "I've taken everything, but can you promise that you won't make things difficult for me if you let her go?" Lu Ziyuan laughed from extreme anger and said coldly, "What do you think?" "In that case, Master Nanxi is my life-saving charm," Yunxiao said with a faint smile. "I want him to escort me out of Fengling City." "In your dreams." The aura on Lu Ziyuan's body directly pressed over as he coldly said, "That's impossible." "Oh. In that case, Lord Clan leader Lu is bent on killing me?" Yunxiao did not show the slightest fear when talking about life and death. He was so calm that Lu Ziyuan could not help but look at him in a new light. Lu Ziyuan dispersed the anger in his heart and gradually regained his calm. "Lord Yunxiao isn't a fool, and there are some things that I don't need to say clearly. If you want to leave Fengling City alive, it's not impossible. As long as you return Cold Sword Bing Shuang and release the two grandmasters, I can make the decision to let go of everything that has happened and let you leave without any injuries." "That means there's no room for negotiation," Yunxiao said. "I'm sorry." The atmosphere suddenly became fierce, and both sides were quickly calculating in their hearts. Lu Ziyuan's strength seemed to be at the peak of a 7 stars martial emperor, and he shouldn't be too far off from Lu Jianba. With the addition of the rest of the Lu clan, he really didn't have much confidence in being able to retreat safely while being surrounded by everyone. The entire Lu family was filled with people, and there was a faint flash of light in the sky. It was obvious that the city's protective formation had been activated. It was no exaggeration to call it an iron pass. "Since there's no more to talk about, Luo," Yunxiao said slowly in a cold voice, and everyone became nervous in an instant. As long as he hurt Lu Nanxi's life, they would immediately kill him. Then I'll return the two masters to you. Eh? What? Everyone was stunned for a moment. Lu Ziyuan immediately saw Lu Nanqi's body being thrown at him and immediately shouted, "Stop him." Yunxiao pretended to be suspicious. While everyone was still in shock, he threw Lu Nanqi out to block Lu Ziyuan, then transformed into a bolt of lightning and broke through the emperor aura pressure of the crowd, fleeing out of the city. Lu Shubao was the first one to catch up, and several sharp sword qi slashed down from the sky. Yunxiao was taken aback. Not only was the sword beam extremely powerful, but it was also faster than he had expected. It could even catch up with his thunderbolt. With no other choice, the thunderbolt had to stop and flash in the air. However, it was only a delay, and 5 colors instantly appeared in the sky, giving off intense light. It was as if a ball of light had enveloped the entire city. Everyone in Fengling City was shocked. It was rare for the city's protective formation to be activated, because very few people dared to act wildly in front of the city lord. Yunxiao's face flickered slightly. In the distance, Lu Ziyuan had caught up in an instant. He knew that it would be troublesome to escape, so he immediately transformed into a bolt of lightning and shot down, hiding in a civilian house. Boom! Just as Lu Shubao was about to give chase, the house directly exploded. Countless thunderbolts shot in all directions, like thunder dragons, and disappeared without a trace. Lu Ziyuan caught up in an instant and just happened to see this scene. His expression instantly turned uglier than a pig's liver as he roared, "Seal the city, completely seal off the city. No one is allowed to leave." The Lu family's order was quickly passed down. Not only was the city sealed, but all the experts above the rank of martial honor were sent out to search for Yunxiao. Each of them was carrying a jade plate with coordinates, and they were to crush the jade plate as soon as they found Yunxiao's trace. On the other hand, Lu Ziyuan flew back to the Lu residence and entered the small courtyard where Lu Nanqi had been. "How is Grandmaster Huafeng?" Lu Ziyuan glanced at the pitch-black body of Lu Huafeng, who was lying on the bed, his life or death unknown. Lu Nanqi's face was extremely gloomy. He gritted his teeth and said, "Basically, it's not a big deal, but that Li Yunxiao must die." The humiliation he had received today seemed to be more than he had ever received in his entire life. "Master Nanqi doesn't need to say anything, I'll definitely peel off this kid's skin myself. He managed to escape just now, but he must still be in the city. I'll have to trouble Master Nanqi to help me search for him." Lu Nanqi immediately took out a transparent crystal ball and shot it into the air. A few runes danced in his hand and rushed into the crystal ball. A ray of white light was emitted from the ball, and the entire house was shrouded in a light curtain. Countless scenes were flashing through it. Lu Nanqi's expression turned ugly as he said, "The crystal ball can sense the auras of all martial supremes and above in the city, but I can't find that kid's aura. He must have hidden it. Don't worry, clan leader. I'll send you the coordinates as soon as I find them." Lu Ziyuan nodded and took out a ball of dry vines, which seemed to be some spiritual grass and roots. He handed it to Lu Nanqi and said, "These are some 10,000-year-old dark spiritual vines that I've collected. They should be helpful for Grandmaster Huafeng's injuries." Although he was the chief of the clan, he was still very respectful to the 2 high-grade alchemists in the clan, and often sent some supreme-grade materials to them to build a good relationship. After leaving the small courtyard, Lu Ziyuan was also particularly vexed, his expression extremely unsightly. The ice sword was too important. If he could completely refine it, he would be able to fight across stars with his strength as a peak 7 stars martial emperor. After reaching the high-level martial supreme realm, the advancement of each star was harder than ascending to the heavens. Even though he was at the peak of 7 star, he was not confident that he could attain 8 star in his lifetime. Suddenly, a ray of light flew over, and a disciple of the Lu family landed in front of him. He bowed and reported, "Lord Clan Leader, the Red Moon City has sent a few lords." "What's the matter?" Lu Ziyuan frowned. "I don't know," the disciple hurriedly replied, "those lords said they wanted to see Lord Clan Leader." Lu Ziyuan had just returned from beyond the clouds and did not know that Yunxiao was wanted by the Red Moon City. "No, just say that I'm in a certain death pass, and they can do whatever they want." Suddenly, a cold voice rang out. It seems that this Fu's face is really not worth much. I beg Lord Zhiyuan to meet me, please. Lu Ziyuan's expression changed greatly as he hurriedly came forward to welcome, so it's Lord Ichuan who has come to our sect. I don't know about the plant essence, I really deserve to die 1,000 times for my crime, I'm in fear and trepidation. He turned to the disciple and roared, the person who's here is one of the 5 elders of the Red Moon City's parliament, the 8 stars martial emperor super expert, Lord Fuichuan. You idiot, you didn't even tell me clearly and caused me to not welcome you. You're really useless. He directly smacked the disciple with his palm and sent him flying on the spot. He said angrily, if you do not do your job well, stop giving out cultivation resources for 10 years. That disciple was also fucking unlucky. He had been suspended from giving out cultivation resources for 10 years. If he didn't have his own spirit stones, he would basically be useless for the rest of his life. It was equivalent to falling behind others by 10 years. A ray of light landed directly in front of Lu Ziyuan, and within it, several figures appeared. The one in the lead was Fu Yichuan, his face indifferent as he looked coldly at Lu Ziyuan. Lu Ziyuan's gaze swept over and was instantly shocked. Those who came were all high-level martial sovereigns. He could not help but feel apprehensive. He did not understand what was going on that required so many high-level martial supremes to be sent over. Could it be that they were going to capture him? The more he thought about it, the more he was shocked. It seemed that there was no other reason that would require so many experts. Lu Ziyuan immediately became alert and asked, may I know why the few of you have come? Fu Yichuan saw the look of wariness on his face and snorted coldly. Can't I just take a stroll when I'm free? It seems that our status is low, coming to such a big city like Fengling City, we have brought shame to Lord Zhiyuan. Lord Ichuan, please forgive me. I was rude. Lu Ziyuan hurriedly said. He made a gesture. Please come in and talk. I've prepared some small gifts for you. He cried out bitterly in his heart. These people from the Red Moon City were not easy to serve, and he had to pay a lot of blood again. Fu Yichuan snorted coldly, then strode into the main hall of the Lu family with a few people. The 5 people who had followed him were all hall masters of the 4 Extremes sect. They were not familiar with the sects of the eastern region, so none of them spoke. Everything was decided by Fu Yichuan. The 6 of them sat down in the hall, and someone immediately served them good tea. Each of them was also given a storage bag, which contained many good things. The 5 hall masters of the 4 Extremes sect took the storage bag and scanned it with their divine senses. Immediately, they had mixed feelings. Although the 4 Extremes sect was extremely powerful, it was still a chamber of commerce organization after all. They had to do business with others. Every time, they would send gifts to curry favor with the forces of various cities and ask for their care. Now that they had entered the Red Moon City, everything was reversed. Fu Yichuan, who was used to this, had no idea that a red packet would trigger their emotions. He said to the 5 of them, this pursuit is the first order given by Old Master Tang since he came to power. We must do our best to complete it. Although I've had little contact with the 5 of you before, we'll be a family in the future. I hope everyone can help each other. I will. Even though they were not used to having Fu Yichuan lead them, the other party was, after all, someone stronger than them. Furthermore, they could earn a lot of money from this trip and were respected everywhere. The 5 of them felt extremely comfortable. After waiting for the tea and courtesies to be over, Lu Ziyuan walked in from outside. He cupped his hands and smiled apologetically to the few of them, this time I was really too impolite. My lords, please don't blame me. Fu Yichuan replied indifferently, when we entered the city, we saw that the city's defensive formation had been activated. The entire area was also under martial law. Compared to Lord Zhiyuan, it's understandable that he's also in an emergency. It is indeed a headache. Lu Ziyuan asked, I just heard a few Darren talk about the mission of this time's hunt? If you're not pursuing someone, why would you trouble the 6 lords? He was indeed shocked. The 6 people in front of him were all high-level martial sovereigns. In the entire Spirit Abundance City, only he and Lu Shubao were at that level. Could it be that Lord Ji Yuan didn't receive our orders? Fu Yichuan asked with a frown. Lu Ziyuan was stunned and immediately cursed in anger. What are these bastards doing? Although I've been in seclusion all this time, the order issued by the Red Moon City is the most important thing, and they actually didn't inform me. I'll definitely take care of them later. Fu Yichuan said indifferently, so Lord Ji Yuan is in closed-door cultivation, no wonder. You don't have to blame your subordinates, it's not a big deal after all. He immediately took out an order and threw it in front of Lu Ziyuan. According to our tracking, that Li Yunxiao seems to have fled to your city. When Lu Ziyuan saw the message, his expression instantly changed. Fu Yichuan took in his expression and asked suspiciously, "What, has Lord Ji Yuan seen this person before?" Lu Ziyuan kept the order and hesitated for a moment before saying, "To be honest, I activated the city protection to capture this person. He has stolen a very important item of the Lu family. He must be caught." That's right. Fu Yichuan was overjoyed. So, that Li Yunxiao is still in Fengling City? Lu Ziyuan nodded. That's right. I have a presumptuous request. After capturing this person, how about handing him over to my Lu clan to deal with for a while before bringing him back to the Six Lords? Fu Yichuan stroked his beard and laughed. Of course you can. You don't have to bring him back. Lord Ji Yuan only needs to kill him in front of us. However, he rolled his eyes and said, when Yun Shao fought in Red Moon City, he revealed that he had more than a dozen 9th-tier mystic artifacts. Maybe he has more good things. How could Lu Ziyuan not understand his meaning? He cursed in his heart, but his face was still full of smiles as he said, other than the things he stole from us, everything else will be handed over to Lord Yichuan to deal with, including his life. Yunxiao's background was mysterious, and Lu Ziyuan had always been a little uneasy. Now that the people of Red Moon City had come forward, things would be easier. He would just take the cold sword, Ice Frost, and let them kill Yunxiao. If it was found that he really had some powerful backer in the future, Red Moon City would step in to stop him. Therefore, the people from both sects were extremely satisfied and smiled at each other. I've already asked Master Nanshi to use the exquisite instrument to monitor the entire city. If there's any unusual activity, he'll immediately report to me. The few sirs can just rest here. Then I'll have to trouble you. Lu Ziyuan nodded. After turning into a bolt of lightning and fleeing in Fengling City, Yun Shao immediately retracted his aura and changed his appearance slightly to blend into the ordinary crowd. The sky began to be filled with experts, monitoring every street. For a time, people were in a state of panic and all kinds of rumors were spread. I heard that the Lu family's patriarch was cuckolded while he was in seclusion. Pfft. Don't talk nonsense, be careful of your head. How can you believe these baseless rumors? It's true. I have a mole in the Lu family. Otherwise, what else could cause the Lu family to go to such great lengths? Be careful of what you say, don't get me involved. Oh, right, I heard that the person who cheated on you is a milk boy with excellent kidneys. Really? Come, I have good wine at home, let's drink and talk. Yun Shao was speechless. It had only been less than 10 minutes, but all kinds of rumors had already spread. He wasn't in a hurry to leave the city and let these Lu family people be nervous for no reason. After thinking about it, he found a random inn to stay in, took out the Divine Realm tablet, and flew into it as a ray of light. He first arrived at Mount Fengsuan. Looking from afar, a faint mist rose up, as if shrouded by clouds. He nodded to himself, proving that Yuan Gohan's progress was smooth. If he could cultivate directly to the 9th rank as a soul, it would be an amazing thing. A soul without a physical body was like a tree without roots. It was already very lucky to be able to maintain his cultivation, not to mention stepping into the last realm of the art. Even if it was not unprecedented, it was very rare for people to achieve it. With a change of thought, he appeared in the sky. With a flip of his right hand, the cold sword of ice appeared in his hand. There were some strange runes and circles of lines on the sword. Yun Shao sneered. These were all the means Lu Nanqi had set up in an attempt to break his restrictive spells. With a light touch of his left hand, he immediately removed all those means, and a transparent light immediately emanated from the sword, crystal clear and shining with a cold light. He took out the jade slip with his left hand and placed it on his forehead. He began to read it one by one with his spiritual sense. There was a lot of information in the jade slip. It not only had a simple description of the process of making the frost sword, which was almost the same as what Lu Nanqi had explained, but it also explained in detail the formation, evolution, power, and usage of several rules of heaven and earth. It also talked about how to condense these rules into words and make them into a short sentence to seal the power of the frost sword. Yunxiao was taken aback. Wasn't this process of condensing the laws of heaven and earth into characters just like the ancient characters of Maha? His eyes revealed extreme shock and ecstasy. This was the only jade slip that recorded the formation process of the Maha ancient text that he had found so far. Its value was immeasurable. Perhaps the Lui family didn't know about the existence of the Maha ancient text and thought that it was just some seal symbols. Otherwise, they wouldn't have handed over such a precious material. The value of this record was even higher than that of the cold sword frost. Yunxiao was sure that if the Lu family brought the information about the condensing process of the Maha ancient text to the Sea of Soul formation, the Sea of Soul formation would definitely be willing to help them refine another cold sword, frost. Suppressing the excitement and shock in his heart, he read the information one by one, and his face gradually became serious. After a long time, he took the jade slip down. His entire person was dumbstruck, standing in the air without moving, as if he had fallen into deep thought, and his brows seemed to be locked. The process of condensing rules into words recorded in the jade slip seemed to be impossible for human power. It seemed that there was a special and unique technique, but there was no mention of this technique. The fortune teller from the snow country really has some background. Judging from the process of condensing the frost sword, this person can actually activate the torrent of time and peer into the past and the future. At first, I thought it was nonsense, but now it seems that it is true. Yunxiao's face was filled with shock. He knew a little about divine divination, and Duanmu Youyu, who was one of the 10 martial emperors with him, was one of them. But, even he was not as mysterious and powerful as the diviner from the snow country. If one could really peer into the past and the future, wouldn't the world be in their control? Yunxiao frowned and said to himself, there must be something more to this. It can't be that simple. Otherwise, the calamity would not have brought disaster to the snow country, and the fortune teller would not have died. According to the information in the jade slip, even if the beast hadn't reached the level of 10 true spirits, it was not far from it. After sorting out his emotions, Yunxiao raised the sword in his hand and poured a stream of primordial energy into it. Immediately, a cold light bloomed and fell on the ground like frost. Through the sword, there was a faint reflection of sunlight, and a chill seeped into his skin. It was as if he could see the coldness of the 8-god ice pistol. Swish! A sword beam flashed in the air as Yunxiao performed a few incantation gestures with his left hand and sent them into the sword. Thump! Dong! Every time it hit, it made a clear ding-dong sound, like water dripping between rocks, or a spring in the forest. Yunxiao's every move was extremely slow as he focused his attention on observing the changes in the seal on the sword. After a few moves, the first Maha ancient character finally emerged from the sword and slowly rose into the air, emitting a dazzling golden light. The Maha ancient character represented this firm rule. The strong was unyielding. The deduction of this rule in the jade slip emerged in Yunxiao's mind. Piercing through the 4th earth, for the 5th earth, for the 3rd solid, for the 4th earth ruins. The firm and unyielding laws of the sky were all contained in this word. Boom! Another ancient Maha character popped up and gradually enlarged on the sword. It was the sharpness of rules. The sharp and bright. From the sound of gold to the kiss of a sharp beak, it implied that the rules of the world's sharpness, and courage were all in this word.